Ladies and gentlemen, this is your 5-minute warning. 5 minutes before we begin, you may wish to take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your 5-minute warning. Before we begin, you may wish to take your seats. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your 1-minute warning. Please go and take your seats. Startup founders, please make sure that you're in your seats as well. And if you're one of our speakers, please take one of your reserved seats on the right-hand side of the auditorium in the front. Thank you. We will be getting started in 1 minute.
finance. The concept hasn't changed, but the way we engage with it has. From loans to debt markets, from regional banking to international finance, from cash transfers to zeros and ones flying across the global system of interconnected devices and markets. The world of finance is evolving in the blink of an eye. And it's because of technology. Technology hasn't simply increased the speed, it's changed the way we engage with the world around us. Open banking, nano loans, the new payments platform. All of these are reshaping the way we look at financial health of ourselves and our businesses. Here in Australia, these changes have only just begun. With the passing of new open banking initiatives, Australians will see a new focus in financial well-being and soon will bear witness to the largest transfer of wealth ever. The Royal Commission is a catalyst for this change. Founders from around the world saw this as a lightning rod, showcasing an ecosystem on the verge of a major shift. From across the globe, 10 companies from 8 countries have spent the last 3 months testing the Australian market and expanding their businesses here. These are their stories, and this is the story of an industry in flux, of the new financial horizon. Welcome to the 2019 Startup Bootcamp FinTech Melbourne Demo Day.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause for our CEO of Startup Bootcamp Australia, Trevor Townsend.
Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land on which we are meeting, pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and the elders of other communities who may be with us here today. This venue we're in, isn't it iconic? I reckon I've had about 20 people come up to me with their memories of watching movies here or seeing great bands. And we hope today is going to be just as memorable for you. I think the last band I saw here was Jet on their final Australia concert. I was very lucky to be associated with the band through my business partner, and I remember having a great time here. So it's going to be a great day today, but I promise I will not sing. My name's Trevor Townsend, as introduced, CEO of Startup Bootcamp Australia, and I'd like to welcome you all here to the 2019 Startup Bootcamp FinTech Demo Day. I would first like to welcome our distinguished guests, Senator the Honourable Jane Hume, Assistant Minister for Superannuation, Financial Services and Financial Technology. She's Australia's first FinTech Minister, and it's great that the government's behind the sector. Chris Holtby, OBE, Consular General and Head of the UK Office for South Australia, Tasmania and Victoria. And Chris has been absolute passionate and absolute drive behind the UK-Australia FinTech Bridge. And we welcome you here, Chris. Andrew Tulloch, Executive Director, Innovation and Development for the Victorian Government. Laura Anderson, Chair of Launch Vic. Jonathan Davey, EGM, Digital and Innovation, National Australia Bank. Dwayne Crombie, Managing Director, Health Insurance Bupa. Tyrone Coe, Head of Customer Experience at Australian Super. Joel Lipman, Partner at Deloitte Financial Services. Sudhir Pai, Chief Technology Officer at Capgemini. Niels Martin, CEO of YBF Ventures. And Rebecca Schott-Goopy, CEO of FinTech Australia. Partners, mentors, friends, investors, welcome to you all. Startup Bootcamp's mission is to empower innovators. We help founders grow their business. We've grown to be one of the world's largest innovation networks, and we've been inspiring innovators for the last 10 years. Here in Australia, Richard and I have been helping to build the startup ecosystem and put Melbourne on the stage of innovation and entrepreneurialism. We've accelerated over 20 energy startups who've collectively raised over $80 million between them and employed 45 people here. We've launched our Talent Institute program, where we train young graduates to be growth hackers or growth marketers to help the startups scale, not only our startups, but all startups in the ecosystem. And we've just concluded our first corporate accelerator for Asahi Beverages, where we took 4 ideas from concept to product launch within 16 weeks. But what's really special about today is Startup Bootcamp has been quite strong in the FinTech sector around the world, and we've run programs in New York, London, Singapore and Amsterdam, and now we bring this FinTech program here to Melbourne. And this wouldn't have been possible without the support of the Victorian government, who provided the seed funding to get the program up and running and established the FinTech hub at YBF Ventures. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank Farley and the team at YBF for their help through the program and their complete support of Startup Bootcamp through our whole journey. Our program theme of financial health and well-being really cuts to the heart of the why of financial services. It provides solutions that truly help individuals, whether they're young or old, or small businesses, to be in control of their financial future, no matter what their circumstances. And hopefully to bring to life the promises of things like open banking, consumer data right, and greater transparency. The teams you will hear from today are doing their little bit to make the world a better place, as financial well-being is a critical issue facing people across the world and including in Australia. Financial stress is the number one thing keeping Australians awake at night, with 2 out of 3 people worried about their finances, and 1 in 3 Australians is financially stressed, with damaging effects on their mental health. In terms of making the world a better place, Startup Bootcamp was also passionate about corporate sustainability and combating climate change. And we're also proud to make this event today carbon neutral with our partner from our energy program, our alumni, UCapture. You can also participate in this. There is a QR code in your program, and if you'd like to make your life carbon free or carbon neutral, please take a photo of that code. So today is a culmination of 13 weeks of hard work from these 10 international startups, and I'm sure you're very interested to hear what they've got to reveal to you today. And I'd like to wish the teams all their best, not just for today's presentation, because that's just a start, but as they build their businesses both locally and globally. You never know, we may be witnessing the birth of a new FinTech unicorn here today. So by way of introduction to our next speaker, we were very fortunate enough to find him here in Australia on a sabbatical, and he asked if he could hang around our energy program and help out a little bit. Little did we know of his vast experience in financial services, working with brands such as MasterCard, UBS and Money 2020, as his role as CSO at AngelHack. So we're very lucky to have him as part of our FinTech program, and I'd like to introduce the hostess with the mostess, I think he is, Mr. Brian Collins.
Yeah, thanks, Trevor. And how you going, Melbourne? Oh, we can do better than that. Melbourne, we've got you out on a Thursday. You're not in the office. How are you going? That's what I wanted to hear. Hello. The American is saying, how you going? My name is Brian Collins, and I am so pleased to be here today. It's such a pleasure to be introducing you to this inaugural FinTech Demo Day. These teams, as Trevor's mentioned, have spent an incredible amount of time over the past few weeks and months building out these ideas, not just ideas, but companies, startups, and really building out something incredible. So what we want to do today is this event is truly and really a celebration. As Trevor mentioned, 90% of these teams are international. And so what I really want to talk about for a moment is the decision of a founder to decide to come into a program like this, because it's something very, very special. It's very big. Let's be honest. Melbourne is becoming a massive FinTech capital. During our selection days, we were able to have one of the founders of, one of the major founding players of AirWallex there, so one of the first FinTech unicorns here in Australia. And during the program, we saw the inevitable rise of Judo Bank as the second unicorn in Melbourne. The FinTech space here in Melbourne is making it one of the global FinTech capitals. But if we're honest, Melbourne's not exactly close to other FinTech regions. In fact, it's not close to any other market, full stop. So 90% of these teams are international. That means that they gave up for the past 3 months their lives, their families, their homes to come and take a chance on an ecosystem they had no idea about. Many had never seen or been to Australia, much less Melbourne before. So what's the reason they decided to do that? Well, there's a couple of different things. We talked about the Royal Commission as one of those major drivers and what we saw as an opportunity, but it's not just the Royal Commission. They also had the opportunity to work with some incredible and amazing partners, and I'd like to thank those partners now. We have, of course, NAB, Bupa, Deloitte, Capgemini, Australian Super, DS, and our event sponsor for today, the UK Department for International Trade. Let's give a big round of applause for our partners who can make this event happen. But these founders took a chance, and I think it's important to recognize that. 90% of these teams are international, which means they had to make that decision of coming all the way out here. They did that because they believed in a program, they believed in a city, and they believed in an ecosystem to give back to them. And I'm proud to say this ecosystem has given back tenfold. It started when 160 plus mentors came out to our selection days in May. It continued when those teams started having 250 plus meetings over the last 3 months. And I am proud to say it has culminated in, as of this morning, 21 signed agreements with these teams across this entire ecosystem. I am so proud of this cohort. I am so proud of the work they've done, and I am proud of this ecosystem for what it's been able to accomplish and give to these teams. So, this demo day, as I mentioned at the beginning, is a celebration, not just for the teams, but for the ecosystem. For some of you, we'll be introducing you to the first time to these teams. For others, it will be a reintroduction. What will happen today is the teams will come up and they'll give a 5-minute pitch, at which point some of our partners will introduce those teams individually before they come up, talking about the importance that they see. I think it's going to be a really great event, and I really can't wait for you guys to see what is in store over the next hour and a half or so. With that, I would like to give a warm welcome to our next speaker, Australia's first FinTech minister and Melbourne's own. Give her a big round of applause, Senator Jane Hume.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Trevor. Wow, what an extraordinary crowd and what an extraordinary venue. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Brian. Victoria and Melbourne is Australia's greatest FinTech hub, and I am a proud Victorian. As a Senator of Victoria, you'd expect me to be so, but I'm also a proud Melburnian, and I think that this venue is a very, very special place. Trevor, you are absolutely right. Some things went on in this place that, you know, what happens on tour stays on tour. I think every speaker should get up and say what were their last contact with the Melbourne Forum was. Mine was a hen's night. I saw puppetry of the penis here. I am still scarred, So thank you very much for having me along today. It is very exciting to be here. You know, Australia really has entered a new era of FinTech, which is totally transformative. It'll promote innovation, new ways of doing business, and it will drive competition across the sector. There has never been a greater supporter of the Australian FinTech industry than this coalition government, and particularly the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. The fact that FinTech has been carved out of the industry innovation and science portfolio and embedded, specifically identified as part of the Treasury portfolio, I think speaks volumes of the value and the potential that this government sees in FinTech. And in fact, when Scott Morrison called me to ask me to take on this job, I have a very long title, Assistant Minister for Superannuation, Financial Services and Financial Technology, he said, "You know which part of this is the most important to me, don't you, Jane?" I thought, oh God, this is a test. But I said, FinTech? And he said, yes, don't mess it up. So I have promised that I will not mess it up, because a strong FinTech sector means a far more competitive financial market and a far more competitive financial landscape, one that is consumer-driven, it's cost-efficient, it's time-efficient, and of course, it's world-leading too. And as Australia's first Minister for FinTech, I'm personally committed to supporting this sector to make sure that it's internationally competitive, that it helps more Australians become engaged with their financial products, with their financial affairs and the services they use, that it enhances financial literacy and financial capability, most importantly, and helps us all spend less time and less money managing our own affairs. So the Coalition has a very good track record when it comes to building this FinTech ecosystem. Over the last 4 years, even before it was carved out, there was a $1.1 billion National Innovation and Science Agenda that laid the groundwork. And one of the most important parts of that investment was implementing new tax arrangements for early stage venture capital and for angel investments, which helped multiply the funds going towards new FinTech businesses. We also legislated for crowdsource equity funding, which is now opening up whole new financing avenues for those startups that never existed previously. And of course, as Chris will tell you, we launched the Australia-UK FinTech Bridge. And I believe there's a company here today that's come to us from the bridge. Is it Fractal? Is that Fractal? Yes, well done, Fractal, and thank you very much, Chris Holpe, for all the work you've done there. This bridge is facilitating Australian fintechs to enter the UK market, and also facilitating UK market, businesses to come here, bringing their capital, bringing their expertise, and of course their product offerings as well. We've removed the double taxation on cryptocurrencies so that they could be treated like money for GST purposes. And of course, last year, the new payments platform was launched by the RBA to support interbank transfers in real time. But we are just getting started. There's so much more to come. The Morrison government will be continuing its strong support of FinTech in the years ahead. Now, just in the last couple of months, I've been holding a number of round tables, meeting people across the FinTech ecosystem, across payments, lending, superannuation, neobanks, the Regtech, and more. And I've been spending a lot of time with members of the FinTech Australia, Stone and Chalk, YBF. It's just been fantastic to meet so many excited, enthusiastic, bright minds and good-hearted people. So as the Minister, my job is to make sure that our policy settings support the competition, enhance productivity through new technologies, and improve financial well-being of all Australians. Now, I do want to touch on, of course, one of the most important policy changes that has been made and is already underway, and that is the introduction of the consumer data right, which passed the Parliament only last month. That initiative alone will make it easier for consumers and businesses alike to find the provider of financial services that best meets their needs, starting with open banking, of course, but then it will roll out beyond open banking to energy sectors, to telecommunications, I'm hoping superannuation and insurance as well. The consumer data right provides individuals and businesses with a right to directly access specified data that relates to them. All 4 banks are scheduled to launch their consumer data, including transaction data, on February 2020, and we will be riding them very hard to make sure that they meet that deadline. I know there's a few representatives from the banks here today. Smaller banks will also launch with a 12-month delay for each phase. But what does that improved access to data mean for consumers? Well, it means better and more convenient products, better services that are customised specifically to their needs. So consider this. We know that 2 out of 5 Australians still use the bank account that their parents set up for them. Now, that's extraordinary. And when I heard that statistic, I said, oh, really? How embarrassing. And then I realised, oh, I'm one of them. I still have the transaction account that my parents set up for me. But that is 7 million Australians who have never switched transaction account. In 2018, Australians held over 15.3 million personal credit cards, but only 17% of them switched credit card providers over a 5-year period. Those that did, half of those that switched saved over $200 a year. But when switching home loans, that saving rises to around $1,000 a year. These are significant cost savings with the most basic of products. Our financial system is clearly not as competitive as it should be. Paperwork, costs, and lack of information have caused that atmosphere of inertia at the expense of Australian consumers. So with open banking, complex application processes can be reduced to a single click. Quite amazing. And consumers will also be able to use the comparison apps that already exist to gain more accurate personalised information about what best options are, but they'll be able to do it without compromising security by giving away their password and allowing for screen scraping. So open banking will really break down the barriers to switching products, making it easier for everybody to move to the best deal that suits them. It'll reduce the cost of living, it will empower consumers, and it will make those little obstacles in life just that little bit easier to overcome. In the coming weeks, you'll also hear about the reintroduction of legislation for the comprehensive credit reporting regime, and that will give lenders better access to data to make a more accurate assessment of borrowers' true credit positions to pay off a loan. We're also working, and I think you'll be excited by this one, to deliver an enhanced regulatory sandbox, which, when passed by the Parliament, will allow businesses to test a far broader range of products, financial products, for a 24-month period prior to seeking the appropriate licences. I genuinely feel with this sector that the sky is the limit and that Australia can, in fact, lead the way. The enthusiasm of industry participants is contagious, and you can already feel that in the room today. Big ideas, bright minds, changing the way that financial services in Australia are done. Thank you so much for having me along today. Enjoy the Startup Bootcamp.
Please give a warm round of applause for our next speaker from NAB, Jonathan Davey, the Executive General Manager of Digital and Innovation.
Thank you very much, and taking up the Senator's challenge there. The last time I was in this hall, in this theatre, was I saw Kitty Flanagan as part of the Comedy Festival about 18 months ago, and I thoroughly enjoyed that, but I'm particularly excited about today. I know that there's been some fantastic companies that we've been working with. As covered, I'm John Davey. I lead Digital and Innovation for National Australia Bank. And as one of the major sponsors of this program, I thought what would be good to do is to share a little bit about our journey and the way that we see our industry changing and the way that we're trying to respond. But this FinTech program that we've been involved in is the first time we have been involved in one of these accelerator programs, so we weren't quite sure what we would find out. I must say, that being said, we've been absolutely blown away with the quality of the organisations that we've worked with. From the time that the themes were first set to the time that the scouting activities identified the 10 startups that we'll see today, we've really found out that there's a number of organisations that are truly challenging the way that we must think as an organisation. What we've also been incredibly impressed about, though, is the way that these organisations have changed and evolved in the space of 12 short weeks. I'm proud particularly of the way that our NAB teams have worked with these teams. We've had validation of the ideas, we've challenged each of the teams, we've seen those teams pivot, and we've seen some fantastic ideas come out that will truly help us address the changes that we see taking place in our industry. NAB has had a focused innovation program for about the last 4 years, and our program is really made up of 3 key functions. First of all, we have a labs team. The labs team really helps us understand changes that are taking place in our industry, the disruption that's taking place, and allows us to be able to run experiments, build new products and new services. And we've seen some great outcomes for our customers as a result of that. One that I would highlight is a product that we've launched within the last 2 years, a product called NAB QuickBiz, which provides unsecured lending to small business customers. It allows them to be able to apply within 20 minutes, to be able to get a credit decision within that same time frame, and then be able to have them draw down funds within a 24-hour period. Really addressing real pain points for our customers. We've also got a digital partnerships team which works closely with third parties to be able to, again, help address customer pain points and to be able to build out new propositions. 2 examples there that I would highlight that where we've worked with partners. The work that we've done with a small Australian FinTech called Look Who's Charging to be able to address real customer pain points, and we've integrated their capability into our mobile banking app. And we've also done a lot of work with Xero, the cloud-based accounting provider, where most recently we've launched integrated payments which allow Xero customers who bank with NAB to be able to initiate payments for invoices directly within the Xero ecosystem. That relationship is actually built on 10 years of work that we've done with Xero, and which was initially based on an investment that we made through our subsidiary BNZ. On that note, it's also worth highlighting that we also, as part of our innovation program, have a $100 million venture capital fund that we run. And that team has worked very closely with many of the organisations today to be able to make sure that they're investment ready. So the key question that I think that we need to constantly challenge ourselves on at NAB is, why is innovation so important to us, and why is this program so important? And I think Senator Hume really well articulated some of the significant changes that are taking place from a regulatory perspective. Open banking is coming, and it will be here in February, and we are particularly excited about the opportunities that open banking creates and the opportunity to be able to leverage further partnerships to be able to provide new products and services. But what we're also seeing is significant change taking place from a customer behaviour position, in many cases enabled by new technologies. And we have to be able to respond to each of these dynamics so that we can evolve as an organisation. This program has been a fantastic way for NAB to see what's out there and to see the innovations that fantastic young companies can come up with. I'd like to thank Brian, Trevor and the whole Startupbootcamp family for welcoming us and for really helping us understand some of these changes. I'd also like to recognise many of the NAB staff that have been involved in this, and I know a number of those staff are here today. They've been involved in supporting each of the businesses as mentors, they've run workshops, and they have conducted experiments with the team. So thank you to those groups. And finally, to the startups, congratulations. I've heard lots of really exciting things, and I'm looking forward to seeing your presentations today. Thank you very much.
Next up, please give a warm round of applause, Dwayne Crombie, the Managing Director of Private Health Insurance at Bupa.
G'day, I'm not sure I can match that cultural enthusiasm, Brian. As someone who runs the health insurance business on a day-to-day basis, I have to live with the fact that no one wakes bolt upright in the morning thinking, I've just got to get my health insurance policy out and review it before my first morning coffee here in Melbourne. I don't think that's going to happen. And I think that's one of the issues for us, that people want typically access to healthcare. They want to see the hospital, the doctor, they want peace of mind. That's fundamentally what they're seeking. And the really interesting thing is that for those of you who have had a significant interface with the healthcare system, or your parents or your friends, you will begin to understand how complex, how disintegrated, how difficult we have in actually sharing information among that system. And then along come people like me in health insurance, and we add a whole lot of bureaucracy and jargon to the situation. And then we have the government, who add a double dose of regulation. And all this adds up to a tremendous headache for the customer. Things are not simple, they're not clear-cut, they're not as transparent as they need to be. But I suppose on the other side of the fence, a big headache for customers is a wonderful opportunity for startups, for disruptors, for people who might find a way to make that whole system simpler and make it work better for customers. So I think, that's really the opportunity. And it's probably why we see so much interest in disruption in healthcare across the globe. So at Bupa, we recognise that we sit in the middle between the customer and the doctors and the hospitals, and being in the middle is a very uncomfortable place. At the end of the day, if you don't get your act together, someone's going to find a way to make the middleware work a lot better than you. And we've seen that in many industries. So, this is the first time we've fronted up and been a part of the Startup Bootcamp process. We've certainly been thinking about it for a number of years. We are delighted just to be able to participate in this process, just to be part of the enthusiasm of working with a whole range of different and young and enthusiastic groups. I know my team, particularly James and Kyle, and with Cindy and all the support team, have absolutely enjoyed this. I kind of think they've almost found their forte. Not living in the corporate world's not much fun at times, but actually being in this, I think, is, you can see the smile on their faces. So, for us, it's been a really rewarding process. And I think, lastly, the important thing is we hope for the startup groups here that the interaction with us has been positive. We're certainly keen to keep that relationship going. There are so many opportunities in healthcare and health insurance to do a better job. We'd be delighted to work with some of you to actually try and turn that into a reality. Thank you.
And now, our very first introduction before we move into the startup pitches. Please give a warm round of applause for James Allingham, Innovation Scout from Bupa.
All right, thanks very much, Brian. Last time I was here, I developed some severe tinnitus in my ear listening to heavy metal band Sepultura. So it was a bit rough, but I promise this is going to go a lot easier on you. I'm so pleased to be announcing Insurtech today. We swipe right on each other at the start. With a name like Insurtech, it was hard to resist. But the story doesn't go as smooth as you think. First, we looked at their business model and how it was successfully applied overseas, and it didn't quite translate here. So we took a step back and we asked him to open the kimono. And we liked what we saw. It was an arsenal of technology. Every tech acronym under the sun, and then some. So we knew we could help him find a foothold in the Australian market. We just had to find the right use case. And so we started with our international customers. What are their problems? What are the pain points? Root cause type stuff. It was the closest adjacency to what they'd been doing overseas. And then we mapped it back to Insurtech technology. We developed a high-fidelity prototype, and we went arm in arm, interviewing overseas students and visitors and migration agents. And it was just as well the multilingual insurer were there because they don't really speak English too well. That in itself told us we were on the right track. From there, we reconfigured their technology. We've developed a use case that does solve customer problems, and it greatly improves the customer experience. This is very much Horizon 1, a business of today, but our vision for Insurtech extend into Horizon 3, the business of tomorrow. On a final point, I'd like to talk about the success here is largely due to the adaptability of Insurtech and their openness to change and collaboration. That's exactly what we look for in startups, and we are so very glad that we found it with Insurtech. So, without further ado, swipe right and give it up for CEO of Insurtech, David Yang.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to kick things off. I'm sure you are too. My name is David, and I'm one of the co-founders for Insurtech. We are a Singapore-based Insurtech startup. So the younger generation have a very different set of expectation in the insurance space in terms of customer service. In fact, look at the numbers up there. 70% of them actually prefer messaging over calls, and 88% of them actually wanted more personalization in terms of the customer experience, and 85% of those interactions in the future will be automated. However, the insurance companies today have a kind of misalignment. Just look at the numbers again. 85% of the people who use their digital platforms are not satisfied. 75% of them actually have a problem when trying to buy insurance digitally. And together with a general lack of interest among the younger generation and the lack of customer engagement, it leads to a customer churn of $470 billion in annual premiums globally. And this is what Insurtech aims to do. We aim to transform customer experience by integrating our platform into the social messaging apps. More on that later. We want to, through these social messaging platforms, we want to provide a personalized, simple, and quick customer experience. And this is what the younger generation wants. But we also help insurers to lower their cost per query by up to 95% and also increase their efficiency, back office efficiency by up to 99%. So currently we are working with Tokio Marine and Aeon in Malaysia. So what we do is that we integrate our platform into the Eon app, which is a retailer app, and we enable Eon's customer to buy Tokio Marine's insurance via the Eon app. In Australia, I guess James has mentioned earlier, but here I'm going to show you a video of what we are going to do.
开始你的留学生活了，恭喜你！
太好了，谢谢。
客气，
我有点心。
谢谢，祝你啊，拜拜。
Hi, I'm not feeling well. I would like to make an appointment.
Give it up to the Bupa team for putting this together. So we want to thank our strong network of partners, especially Startupbootcamp. They are the reason why we are here today. And also we look forward to working with Startupbootcamp in the months and years to come. Same goes for Capgemini. We look to deepen our collaboration with Capgemini to expand into various countries within Asia Pacific. Our revenue model is very simple, 2 components, platform fee plus a transaction fee that goes through, for every transaction that goes through our platform. So we have a growth projection. We are aiming to be in 7 countries with 1 million customers, million users within the next 4 years. We are a team of 5 people right now with 4 developers. I'm the only one that doesn't do the coding, so I'm doing the talking. So you either code or you talk, so I talk. So Bupa has more than 20 years of experience in doing software development and software architecture. I've been doing sales and marketing, that's why I talk a lot. We are looking to deepen our root here in Australia, and we are looking for introductions into insurers as well as investors. If you know anyone, please come and talk to us later at the back. Together, let's revolutionize customer experience for the insurance industry today. Thank you.
Next up to introduce our next team, please give a warm round of applause from NAB, Krishan Sidhu, Entrepreneur in Residence.
Thank you for that, Brian. As one of the core members of our NAB Labs team, I've had the incredible privilege to spend time with this cohort on an almost daily basis. And one thing that's really stuck out to me is the incredible growth and journey that this next team has been on. Trading Valley has been helping our NAB trade team identify new ways to provide really powerful insights to customers regardless of how much money they have invested. And that's really important because we believe that all customers deserve good quality advice. So whilst I won't go into the insights of what we've done with them, because I'm sure they will, I did want to touch on some of the feedback I've received from teams that have worked with them. Almost all of them have referenced the power of their product, the incredible way they've worked with other banks in the past, but most importantly, their ability to iterate, take on feedback, and come back with a positive attitude. I know personally, I've really, really enjoyed working with you. It's been fantastic. And without any further ado, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Eric from Trading Valley.
Thank you very much, Krish. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric, co-founder of Trading Valley. I'm really excited to be here and wrapping up the demo day with you today. At Trading Valley, we started 5 years ago, and now we are the #1 AI investing solution in Taiwan. 40% of automatic wealth management service are powered by us. And I'm really excited to share our story to you today and showcase what we've done in Australian market. And the problem is simple. As we all know, the investment is hard, especially for the individuals. And the investing products provided by the financial institutions are expensive and sometimes unreliable. So our solution is to develop complex algorithms to help the financial institutions and their customer to automate investment decisions. And the most importantly, is without costing a lot. Our AI engine has a 84% accuracy rate to predict the market movement, which can deliver 40% better performance to the standard quantitative models. So when you compare our solutions to other wealth management service out there, what Trading Valley creates is the least expenses and the most technology-driven. So our engine can really help our partner to create the consistent and professional level service to their customers. For other auto investing solutions out there, they only provide low returns with their conservative approaches. For Trading Valley, we also have those conservative approaches, but with our AI engines, we can deliver much better performance than our competitors. It also allows us to create a more aggressive strategy, which can deliver up to 20% annual return. So with a wide range of products, we actually can help the investor to achieve a better financial wealthness. And this is one of our partners. We help them to use our technology to manage the funds, and it delivers 16% annual returns since last November, and when the stock market only generated 5% growth, so which is 3 times better than the market index. In the past 2 years, we built out the B2B business, so now we are 6 major institution partners, including Franklin Templeton and BNP Cardiff. In the last 3 months, we worked closely to Regtech, and we built up the pilot and helping them to analyze the current portfolio of their existing clients and helping them to understand the risk of their portfolio and eventually to know how to improve the performance. And this is really, it turns out a very good feedback and the results. And I'm gonna read some feedback that I just got this morning. The user one, that I would be stoked to use something like this. And the second users, honestly, it is very, very good. And the user 3, I love it. I think it is fantastic, almost like I've got professional on my side. So we reckon it is really good, fantastic partnership. So we're looking forward to have a better or further cooperation with NAB and or other opportunity in Australia as well. So our current roadmap is to keep our market leader in Taiwan and in partnership in Australia. And we think our technology and our experiences will let us to become the market leader in this market by 2021. We're planning to expand our business in Southeast Asia. And this is our team, our co-founder team, and also my best friends. And we are hedge fund trader and data scientist and finance experts. And we are a team of 13, and each team members are very brilliant in their field. And we also work with Tsinghua University, which is one of the top universities in the world. So we have the best people continue developing our product and services. So we're here looking for partners like banks, super funds, or wealth management firms, and some asset managers as well. And we are planning to have a second round of fundings this year. So if you are interested in our business or what we're doing, we're more than happy to meet you later on back there at the booth. Thank you.
Our next introduction, please give a warm round of applause to Cindy Shea, the Director of Health Partnerships and Innovation at Bupa.
Well, thank you. I think for me, I was here sitting in a salon environment listening to jazz. It was a very cool evening. And I have to say, working with our teams at Startupbootcamp, it's also been a fantastically cool event. It's the one job where you go in hoping that you actually know nothing, because your job is to try and think about the art of the possible. And if you go in with a set mindset, you don't get to that outcome. And can I tell you, these teams we're looking at today have really put that challenge before us. When we were meeting with Emotics, we were thinking of higher order things, and the question we were trying to solve and ponder on was a question of understanding. Coming out of the Royal Commission, health insurers are also impacted by the Banking Royal Commission. We were trying to work out, did our staff really understand their compliance obligations? How would we know? How could we actually improve that level of understanding, particularly when it came to application? Could we use the facial recognition technology and the other suite of technologies that Emotics pulled together to improve our compliance? But we actually had a bigger Horizon 3 proposition that we have been very interested in exploring with them. And that is to take it past what we think is a really solid product of training to, could we even in the future take this type of technology and use it in a sales conversation to see whether our customers actually understood the product they were buying? At which point do we finish and close the transaction much more comfortable that in a really complex transaction, the customer actually understands it? So we think there is fantastic opportunity for the application of a Emotics solution. And it gives me great pleasure to say, please welcome to the stage Emotics.
Hello, everybody. So, misconduct. It's killing financial services. We've been seeing this since the GFC over the last 10 years. It's just scandal after scandal, culminating with the Royal Commission, which had misconduct right there in the title. My name is Ray, CEO of Emotics. We are a Hong Kong-based Regtech, and we're helping financial institutions to cut out the misconduct. So, the first way that financial institutions deal with misconduct is around training, in particular compliance training. And they're spending about $7 billion per annum on all of that training. But it's not quite working, because the top 50 banks are still spending $37 billion on fines. So there's clearly something wrong there. And what is it? Compliance training is broken. So people put off their compliance training to the last minute, and then they find every way possible to game it. So they click through really quickly, guess all the answers till they get a pass mark. If there's videos, they turn them on, wander off, grab a cup of coffee when hopefully it's all done. They print out the answers, share them around the office, so everybody just fills it out, gets back to work. Or they hand over the login details to somebody else, get them to log in, and do the whole thing for them. So clearly some serious issues in there. How do we solve this? We provide an analytics layer on top of that training to make sure people actually do it, they pay attention, and they're not getting somebody else to do it for them. So that's a combination of browser analytics, facial recognition for ID verification, and expression analysis, so we can tell that there's somebody actually sitting there going through that training. So this helps us to identify all of that risk and manage the process from there. So we can tell if it's just on an individual few bad eggs, or if it's more of a systemic issue, or it's focused on particular business units. The core issue here is that the content is terrible. So it's really dull, it's boring, and people just aren't paying attention to it. That's where we take all of the data that we're gathering and put it into a dashboard where you can see how effective or ineffective all that training is. That allows you to rework it, optimize it, and make sure people are actually paying attention from there. Another large element of what we do is helping with the reporting side of things. So we're providing you with much meatier data there when it comes to reporting up to board level on a quarterly basis, and then for sign-off, going over to the regulators on an annual basis. That helps you evaluate your whole span of controls and implement targeted remediation. So how we solve this is through an initial installation and implementation fee. That varies depending on how many courses we're looking at and systems we have to integrate with. And then we have an annual per user basis on top of that. So our team is highly experienced within the enterprise software space. Myself, I trained as an auditor back in the day, and I've been in enterprise software around business intelligence, business process automation, and marketing automation. The rest of the team have worked in financial analytics, enterprise software again, banking, and consulting. So we know what we're doing, and we've been through this before. Customer-wise, so we did a proof of concept with AIA back in Hong Kong, and we're currently doing an Australia-wide pilot with Mercedes-Benz Financial Services. We're also very happy to be doing a proof of concept with Bupa. We're looking forward to maintaining that relationship. The real key to our growth strategy here is around partners. Selling to compliance and banks is hard. So we're taking a partner route here to really accelerate it. We've partnered with Intuition, who are the largest global provider of compliance training in financial services. They have 80% of the largest financial institutions in the world as clients. We've integrated on top of their entire library of content, and we're just about to get final tech sign-off so they can start reselling us globally. We're also partnering with Thomson Reuters, one of the other biggest names in this field. We've integrated on top of the first 5 courses with them, and that's been driven in particular in Hong Kong, where the insurance regulator is now mandating ID verification on any compliance training that goes towards CPD. We're partnering with Strategy Hub here, and that's to help us enter the UAE and South Korea market, and very happy to be partnering with KPMG Australia. So we're going to be piloting internally with them, and then they're helping us resell into financial services and also the broader corporate market, because there's a lot more opportunity for us in other heavily regulated industries. So here's where we're at. We've got the control scaling underway. We're piloting in Australia. Then it's back up to Hong Kong, Singapore, and Southeast Asia to really optimize our partner strategy, and then expanding out North America and Western Europe from there. And looking at the overall market opportunity, just in our target markets, it's over $500 million per annum in revenue. So that's where we're at. We are poised for explosive growth through our partner strategy, and we're raising some money to make sure we can support all of that going forward. So we're in Motex, and we're helping to cut down misconduct in financial services. Thank you very much.
For our next introduction, please give a warm round of applause from Capgemini, Sudhir Pai, the Chief Technology and Innovation Officer.
Hello, and so what a spectacular venue this is, and I'm pleased to be here today representing Capgemini. And with Startup Bootcamp, I've been working very, very closely in multiple programs now. We partnered in Europe last year for FinTech and Cyber program in Netherlands. This year at Hartford in US for Insurtech, and now Finance, Health and Wellbeing in Melbourne. So collectively, I guess we have learned a lot more from the early stage startups and what does it mean for us and for our customers. So I'm pleased to introduce today Chintamani, and Chintamani basically is focusing on one crucial area which is extremely important for financial services in Australia and globally, which is trust. So re-establishing trust with consumers by better understanding them, by aligning their spend patterns, by encouraging them to save, and setting short, medium, and long-term goals and making them to achieve their goals. So, and it resonates very well to the tagline of financial well-being as well. So with Chintamani, we will partner to launch the program, the platform, and the applications through our open banking platform, and as well to see how we can expand the solution in Australia as well as in Asia. I would like to welcome Uday from Chintamani. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Uday. I'm from Chintamani. Chintamani is an Indian financial wellness company. Financial stress. So Trevor actually gave a very good introduction about how serious financial stress is, not only in Australia, but across the world. It can be deep with instances like high credit card debt, or it can be simple things like an awkward silence when your partner asks for a Switzerland vacation. So completely broad, but current solutions are all reactive in nature. They all analyze your spending patterns and then they show you graphs. So I tried them. I was suffering from financial stress myself, and they showed me a pie chart, out of which I was interested only in the pie portion of it. I couldn't understand the chart at all. And that's the case with many other people, right? The damage is already done. There's hardly anything that you can do. So the actual solution, which would work, would be something which is proactive. So that's what we did. We combined payments with budgeting. You can create virtual buckets for savings and expense, which are backed by a financial plan so that the buckets are not stupid. So if you're earning $4,000, and if you create a $3,000 entertainment bucket, I'm not helping you. So just to make sure that doesn't happen, we have a financial plan backed. And combining these two, we give you exclusive personalized merchant deals. As you can see, personalized spending, you can have things like eating out, groceries, or something like fun money. As well as for savings, you can save for rent, a car, a house, and that vacation which can actually come to reality. I'll show you a brief demo of the application over here. It's live in India, and we're planning to bring it here soon. So once you log in, once you log in, you see we have named them fire and water so that people can understand easily. Fire is important, water is liquid. You can go inside a bucket, you can spend, you can see the transactions. You can create as many buckets as you want. The best part is, before you actually spend, you have to choose a particular bucket, which we'll see right now. So I'll show you a typical expense. If you go, you enter a pay ID or you scan a QR code, you enter your amount, and if it's a dynamic ID, it will be pre-filled. And here you will select what do you have to pay from. The advantage this offers is at the end of the month, you don't have to sit around and wonder where did my money go, because you know where it is gone every time you're making a payment. And because you make payments on a daily basis, this will help you keep your finances on track. Our revenue model is from merchants. So all the deals that we bring you, and if you avail those deals, we earn commission. This is a very scalable model, not fixed, because it's a percentage of how much you spend. Our partners in India, we run on UPI, which is an open banking framework, which connects 200 plus banks. So any person, which I guess around 400 million people in India, can come, download the app, connect the bank account, start using it. Kotak Mahindra Bank, which is India's second largest private bank, is our payment service provider to access UPI. And we've recently partnered with Capgemini to help scale this solution across the globe, as well as launch in India. Market size, in reality, is not just India and Australia, although the opportunity is huge, but this can be scaled everywhere. The reason being, grandmas all over the globe still use to save money in jars. So it's not just an Indian concept, it's global. We did a pilot with Bupa, a landing page, some Facebook advertising around a health and care use case, and we got fantastic results. 10% on Facebook ad conversions is huge if you know or if you're in that space. So as of yesterday, we are going ahead and we are going to create an app with Bupa. We are about to sign a POC with them, specifically around health and care, where you'll have two buckets. The more you spend on health, you get some cash back, which you can actually spend on care items like visiting a dentist or myotherapy or anything. It should be live in a couple of months, and if you're interested in being, one of our first users, you can come at the booth and give you your contact details. The roadmap is we are a very young company, 1.5 years old. We're launching and scaling in India in 2019. We're doing a pilot. Product development is all the time. That really doesn't stop ever. And we are raising a seed round. This is my team, me and Narhari. We are both engineers, both from India. We have a great board of advisors. The number of people on the BOA is so huge, I couldn't dedicate a slide to them. But they're all financial people, so everything that we cannot understand, we got an advisor for that. Currently, we are raising a seed round. If you are interested in investing and being a part of this journey, you're welcome. But not only that, we are also open, if you can help us in any way accelerate this process of launching this solution in Australia or anywhere else around the globe, please feel free to come and grab me at my booth. Thank you.
For our next introduction, please give a warm round of applause from Deloitte, Tim Davis, Director, Deloitte Digital.
Thank you, Brian. I'll echo the sentiment around this venue. I'm actually new to the country. I've been in Australia for just a year. I've already been here 3 times. It's a fantastic spot, and today is no different. So, as Brian said, I'm a director within Deloitte Digital. I lead a lot of the work that we do in proposition and venture design. So I help our corporate clients when they're thinking about expanding into a new product, service, or a new area altogether for their business. So thinking about new businesses and new ideas is kind of my day-to-day. When I arrived at selection days and was starting to meet the teams, it was really tough to think which are the teams which I think I'm going to be able to spend time with and the teams that I'm going to be most excited by. And this next team, Zigway, immediately jumped out to me as a team that I really wanted to spend some time with. There's 2 reasons for that. So one is around the business, and the other is actually just around the founder. So from a purely kind of hard-nosed commercial mindset, if I was a VC and I was looking at assessing a business, very, very simplistically, you're asking yourself, is there a real problem here that's being solved? Okay, question 1. Is the problem valuable? Is it big enough? Is it meaningful? Question 2. And then finally, is the team getting traction around solving that problem in a way that can create value? And it was very obvious in talking with Miranda around her business, Zigway, that the problem's huge. All right, that's actually the challenge. One of the challenges that we've been talking about and working together on is how do you break down the problem and where do you start so that you can kind of demonstrate that traction in an area that makes sense to people and it doesn't feel too big to manage. So there's a big opportunity for Zigway. They're getting traction. It's very exciting. But from a founder point of view, I think everybody at Deloitte, everybody who's met Miranda has been blown away by the combination of humility and kind of vision and passion. So we look for, in selecting teams to work with, coachability, right? You're going to have to, in the early stages of a business or venture, make some changes, be open to feedback, pivot occasionally. And we've been very, very impressed by how coachable, how humble, but how completely dedicated to her purpose and cause Miranda is. So without any further ado, it's my great honor to welcome Miranda to the stage.
Imagine taking 2 months of your income and throwing it away. This is basically what Sue does, a mother of 3 who I met last year. She lives in Yangon in Myanmar and has a small dried food store that makes $5 a day, barely enough to make ends meet. But she's a proud mum, and every day she goes to the market to buy her family 1 kilo of rice. She's never been able to afford a 30-kilo bag, but that means in a year she ends up paying 20% more for the same quantity of goods. That's 2 months of income gone. Sue dreams of having the financial freedom to be able to buy her family the things they need. Instead, she ends up paying poverty penalties on everyday items. And these poverty penalties are caused by the traditional way that our society has done business with the poor. Shops don't give Sue bulk prices because they don't have guaranteed sales volumes. Sue doesn't use technology like mobile apps or the internet, so transaction costs are high. And Sue can't get a loan from banks or microfinance institutions because they can't assess her risk cheaply. And moneylenders, well, they charge her 1,800% per annum. There are 3 million mothers living in poverty in Myanmar paying poverty penalties on essential goods and services, as do 3.4 billion people worldwide. Poverty penalties keep people trapped in poverty. That's why we at Zigway eliminate poverty penalties. Our monthly subscription box of essential goods and services makes bulk buying affordable. Our boxes are comprised of non-perishable food items like rice and cooking oil, and with us, people can buy on credit without paying extra. We put 2 months of income back into Sue's pocket because we rethink the causes of poverty penalties. Sue can now buy in bulk because our subscription model guarantees supplies volume. We offer a new way to pay with our nano subscription model. Sue pays in small installments throughout the months on credit to match her income patterns like daily or weekly. And we distribute to last mile customers by combining people with technology. We have a mobile app that dramatically reduces costs, but to reach Sue, we've built a network of super users. These are local women who we've trained to be community champions. Sue simply goes to a local super user to register. Sue makes cash payments to the super user, and the super user sends that money back to us electronically. Sue doesn't even need to touch a phone. Our subscription boxes cost on average $50 a month, about half of what a low-income family in Myanmar spends on groceries each month. We buy directly from suppliers, cutting out layers of middlemen. We add a gross margin of 10%, enough to make sure we're scalable and profitable. And at these levels, we save our subscribers up to 20% compared to making small purchases. Sue has many options to get household essentials. She could go to retailers or financial services institutions, but with us, we're the most accessible and the least expensive. Our business model is multifaceted, so we've gone about de-risking it. We've delivered almost 5 tons of rice. We've built a super user network that can now reach 7,500 people, and we've tested our credit risk model and our technology with 2,500 cash loans, and we've had a 98% repayment rate. Even more importantly, we've saved our clients 3,000 days of work. We've also achieved our program goals of validating our business model and our technology, and this is all thanks to the partners, the mentors, and the staff at Startupbootcamp. We're now ready to launch across Myanmar over the next 12 months, and we'll be expanding our partners to include financial services, healthcare, and education. After this, we'll be expanding across the region to tackle Southeast Asia's biggest poverty challenges. These 4 markets alone represent a $500 million opportunity. With an international expansion plan, we have an international team with experience across finance, tech, audit, and international development. For my part, I grew up here in the humble suburbs of Melbourne. I bought a scalp ticket outside to see Oasis many years ago, and I worked at ANZ for almost a decade, the UN, and Blue Orchard, one of the world's largest microfinance impact investors. Our next milestone is to reach break-even, for which we're now raising a seed round, and this is to grow our operations and technology. And today, I stand before you to speak on behalf of Sue and the billions of people trapped in poverty without a voice. Poverty penalties are a man-made construct of the way that we thought about business. But we at Zigway believe if people made it, then people can change it. So join us, let's eliminate poverty penalties forever.
At Startup Bootcamp Australia, we are a proud member of FinTech Australia, who's been an incredible partner as we went through this program. As such, we wanted to invite our next speaker to come up and give us a short update on where the FinTech scene stands across Australia as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause, the General Manager of FinTech Australia, Rebecca Schott-Goopy.
thank you for having me, and what a start those pitches were. And actually, I hate to admit this is a proud Melburnian, but this is my first time at the forum, and what a way to start. Sorry, just working out the clicker. There we go. So you may ask why I have the FinTech Australia Year in Review as at my first slide, but it has two important touch points. The first touch point being our member growth. Over the last year, we've seen our membership base rise from just under 300 to nearly 350. But more importantly, it sets a bit of the policy landscape. In the last year, we've seen CDR pass Parliament, obviously open banking, very important, crowdfunding being opened up to private companies, a commitment to comprehensive credit reporting, and an expansion of the regulatory sandbox. Oh, wrong way. Got it? Great. So at FinTech Australia, we see 10 key important subsectors of FinTech, being lending, which encapsulates peer-to-peer lending and alternative underwriting platforms, blockchain and crypto, companies leveraging blockchain technologies for financial services, Regtech, personal finance, payments, billing, payments processing, card developers, and subscription billing software tools, insurance, capital markets, which includes sales and trading, analysis, and infrastructure tools for financial institutions, wealth management, investment and wealth management platforms and analytic tools, money transfer and remittance, and increasingly we're seeing more mortgage and real estate focused FinTech startups. This slide demonstrates the maturity of our ecosystem. 3 years ago when we started, the EY FinTech census showed that the majority of FinTechs in the ecosystem were focused on lending. Over the last 3 years, we've seen our ecosystem mature to see a rise in wealth management, payments, and data analysis. And this year, the stats haven't changed, with an increase in data analytics businesses. Funding in Australia. Australia is seeing an increased interest from funding FinTech investors in areas that enable open banking. This is because the country is developing its open banking policies as an umbrella regime focused on the consumer data right. The flexibility of this approach suggests that Australians will eventually apply the policy to other sectors such as energy, telecom, and others. More broadly, we're seeing less FinTech investments, but the average check size is increasing. I'm proud to say that over 20% of Australian FinTechs are profitable. This is a number that we've continued to see rise, and this year I'm proud to say that the 2019 results have shown a substantial increase on this number. More importantly, we're continuing to see a rise in FinTechs B post-revenue. Last year's number was 68%, and this trend has continued. Something that we work closely on at FinTech Australia is helping our companies export overseas, with our partners being DIT, the Australian British Chamber, and importantly, Austrade. 54% of Australian companies look to export overseas, with 52% of them looking at the UK market as their number one destination for expansion. And this underpins an important policy piece of work that we do at FinTech Australia that was established by the Turnbull government, being the FinTech Bridge. And we will continue to work with our partners to help our companies expand into these markets. Some quick facts on the Australian market. Talent. FinTechs are drawing on a limited startup talent pool and particularly struggling to find engineering and software expertise. This issue will only become more pronounced as artificial intelligence and machine learning become increasingly integral to FinTech offerings. Capital, I've touched on this, but the levels of capital available to startups in Australia continues to rise, with FinTech securing the most amount of funding of any capital in FY18, and average annual capital raisings trending upwards. The majority of this capital, surprisingly, doesn't come from VC funds. It comes from private high net worths. Environment. Fintechs remain lean, requiring strong support networks beyond founders. Hubs and accelerators are continuing to be important to future success, including one of the partners of Startupbootcamp today, YBF, so congratulations to the work they do. And half our participants in our EY census have work importantly out of these hubs. And I would just like to finish on saying good luck to everyone that has to pitch, and thank you for having me.
Our next introduction, please give a warm round of applause. One of the partners that Rebecca just mentioned, this time Chris Holtby, Consul General for the UK government and representing the UK Department for International Trade.
It's not often governments get a big round of applause. Forum, I've been here quite a lot of times. I've been here for the Melbourne Festival and a few other things, but I think the question was bands. And I was here watching George Ezra last year. So I'm a man in touch with my emotions, perhaps heavily influenced by my wife's playlist as well. Thank you very much to Startup Bootcamp for welcoming us again as a partner, as they have in other programs as well. I'm the Consul General here, the head of the UK office, but more importantly, I'm here because this is a global city. And essentially, this is a story of global cities and global economies. And I'll make the introduction to Gaurav and Fractal in a moment, but they're all part of this as well. And core part of my role, and that of Caitlin, who I'm going to get to wave at the front because you need to talk to us afterwards, is how we link this global economy with the global economy in the UK, and then we help companies grow through that, through the rest of the world. And about a year ago, the FinTech bridge was created between the UK and Australia. And essentially what it does is enable a company that is licensed here to operate in the UK and vice versa. It's a little bit more complicated than that, and that's why the bridge exists with two pillars at either end, because we're here to help get through some of those little niggles. But essentially that's what it's all about, to make the transition as frictionless as possible. And in that time, we've run 6 trade missions, and there are 2 more in the coming 2 months, and 40 fintechs have moved between our 2 economies. From Australia, that includes companies like Wallex, Trade Ledger, CoinJar, Afterpay, and from the UK, Go Cardless, Revolut, Crowd2Fund, DigiMe, Bud. And I think quite a lot of people here will know these are all companies that look for partners. It's not just about making sales, it's about how they integrate into the economy and grow the wider economy. Last week, the Global Digital Economy Council again ranked the UK as the most attractive country in Europe for tech expansion. And so far in 2019, tech companies have raised about 10 billion Australian dollars in new funding. And that's up 50% from last year. You might have heard of something called Brexit, and I can talk about that over a beer later. But it's not cutting the investors' appetite for growth. And at the start of last year, we had 13 tech unicorns in the UK. As of last month, we now have 19. And they're not just in London, they're in 5 centres across the UK. Why? Because London is the global financial centre, and it's going to remain so. And frankly, I think even because of Brexit, it will probably become even more the case. And we have schemes like the Enterprise Investment Scheme that spread the risk between investors and the government to enable more funding of new companies coming through. We have a well-regulated structure. the FCA is essentially the model for regulators around the world, and certainly there's a great dialogue between them and ASIC here. And we have access to talent, not just from the UK, but the skilled visa routes into the UK are becoming easier than ever. And talking about talent is why I'm here to introduce Gaurav and the Fractal team. They're originally from the UK. They're a company that's regulated in the UK by the FCA, helping UK banks provide the right product to the right SMEs at the right time. And they were one of the first funds that were authorized for open banking in the UK. And it's because of the spread of open banking from the UK to Australia that they now have this opportunity to come here and come into this market and share what they know and benefit the Australian economy. They've used the FinTech bridge, so it's great to have them as an example of that. And they're great people, their great technology are here to help Australian SMEs grow fast. Gaurav, over to you.
Thank you for those kind words, Chris. I'm Gaurav from Fractal, and we are reinventing financial services for SMEs. I'm going to start with a very bold statement and a problem that's affecting our entire economy. SME banking is broken. SMEs are a backbone of any economy, and yet they are underserved by their banks. They incur high fees, and they end up being loss-making. While each business has unique needs, banks treat most SMEs as a segment and thereby have one-size-fits-all products. We believe one-size-fits-all is dead. The problem exists because there's a huge gap between banks' SMEs propositions and SME data. I was once talking to a SME owner and looking into his books, and I saw that he was paying all his bills on day one, and it didn't make any financial sense to me. So I asked him, why are you paying all your bills on day one? And his response to me was that it gives me peace of mind. And I suggested that if you need peace of mind, you should do meditation, not run a business. And then I was speaking to a relationship manager at a bank, and I asked her, you have such high targets to meet. How do you meet such high targets, and how do you target your SME customers? And she said, I've been working in this industry for over a decade, and I found a scientific way to target my products. I choose my lucky letter every day, and I start calling everyone from that lucky letter, hoping that they would take a loan. This is the gap that we bridge. We offer our API platform as a set of APIs, so banks can deliver financial insights to SMEs, and they can deliver the right product to the right SME with the right nudge at the right time. I'll show you what that means with an example. So let's imagine a case where SME's cash flow is going to drop down by $20,000, and that's because some of the clients haven't paid them. They will receive an insight that your cash flow is going to drop down by $20,000 because 3 clients haven't paid you, and by the way, they always pay late. And here's the invoice factoring product for you, which can help you bridge that gap. This insight gets generated from Fractal's targeting engine, where the criteria is set by the banks. So banks would they would provide a set of rules that if the cash flow is going down, if the SME has a good credit score, and if the SME has if their cash flow forecast looks good, offer them invoice factoring product. The insights for the targeting engine are generated by our data intelligence platform, which does cash flow forecasting, which does payment insights, which does merchant insights, and the data for that comes from a variety of sources, including open banking, cloud accounting, public registries, and even some of the social data. And we use behavioral science in delivering those nudges because we think it's not what we tell SMEs, it's how we tell SMEs. More than being a tech problem or a financial problem or being a data problem, we think it's a behavioral problem that we are trying to solve. I'll show you a few live use cases. We are already working with a few banks. So OP Financial, it's one of the largest banks in Finland. and they're using our product to deliver insights to their relationship managers. So now relationship managers don't have to choose their lucky letters. When they come during the days, they see leads created in their CRM system, and they can call people and help them with products. Rabobank, they are one of the biggest SME banks in Netherlands. Fractal is basically the brain behind their cash flow management app, and anytime a SME's cash flow goes down, their lending proposition is triggered. We're working with a lot of global banks, and here are some nice things that our customers have to say about us. We're making a huge impact on these banks, increasing the leads by 50%. 6 out of 10 people that we alert end up taking a product, and increasing the sales by 30% overall, and increasing their loan book. We are recognized as a market leader in the industry. We've won many awards, and we've been featured in leading press and media. And we've been here for over 3 months now, validating the market, validating the opportunity, validating the product. And we have to say, especially with open banking coming, the time for SME market in Australia is right for us to come. So I'm excited to announce that as of today, we've officially incorporated in Australia today. Thank you. We've also hired our first key person on the ground who's going to help us scale the business. And I'm really grateful to Startupbootcamp and UK Australia FinTech Bridge in supporting this journey for us. We are a team of 25 unique professionals. We have a unique experience in technology, data science, behavioral science, finance, and in building engaging products. We have a global partnership with Deloitte, and they help us scale our business in UK and also globally. We were one of the first ones to be regulated for open banking in UK. We've been audited as a bank-grade enterprise platform by independent vendors. I'd love to speak to you about how we can help you make a dent in the SME market if you serve SME customers. And please join us in this journey in making SMEs succeed all over the world and in Australia. Thank you.
Our next introduction from Kyle Walker, the head of innovation at Bupa.
So I was just reflecting on the last time I was at the forum, and actually, Senator Hume, I was here also for Puppetry of the Penis. I was performing, so hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you. I don't know, I'll stick to my intro. It's a little bit dirty though, and it's dirty for a good reason, and that's because I'm introducing Z-Score, and that's what they do. They deal with big, dirty data. And big data is a little bit like teenagers and sex. They're all talking about it. Everyone is pretending that they're doing it, and if they are actually doing it, there's a good chance they're not doing it well. And there was a bit of verbatim around the top 20 selection day where the top 10 teams came into the program about, is this something that is unique and new, or is this something that organisations are already doing it? There was obviously enough curiosity that Z-Score came into the top 10. And with an open mindset and a willingness to focus on the art of the possible, Bupa decided to work with Z-Score. And I'm glad we did. Z-Score took 180,000 plus rows of our data across 3 data sets. They cleaned the errors, they identified the root causes, and they made recommendations on how that data quality could be improved moving forward. And they did that in just 12 days. Richard, can I get a woo? Yeah. Well done, Z-Score. And to give you an idea on why that is such an amazing result, is that this is something that we had people working on. It would often be done manually, and 10% of one of those data sets may take up to 6 weeks to clean. So you can see that that's an amazing result. And what it gives us is it gives us accurate data so that we can make better informed insights, make changes that can truly improve the service and experience for our customers, and that's ultimately what we're here to do as an organisation. So, Without taking up any more of your time, I have the great privilege of welcoming Dilip Murali to the stage, CEO of Insure.
Thanks, Kyle, for the great introduction. Unlike teenage sex, we're quick, but you're very thorough as well. So, data is the new oil. This term was coined by Clive Humby in 2006. It's been a decade since, and we are still struggling with data. And we don't trust it entirely. We spend a lot of time doing mundane jobs cleaning it. Lack of useful data is one of the biggest reasons why organizations are struggling to become data-driven. At Zscore, we have a solution for this problem. We offer a product that significantly increases data usability in organizations by automating manual data tasks. How do we do it? Think of us as an oil refinery where you take crude from the earth, you process it, and you get usable oil. Very similarly, we go to an organization and we deploy our product and connect to the various data sources using the vast list of data connectors that we have. We validate it, apply recipes, we refine it, we extract the bad data, we let the good data flow into the data lake, and then we apply machine learning on the bad data to fix them. Our product has some very salient features. We are bringing accountability to data by introducing metrics such as data quality index to actually validate and understand what is the current level of usefulness of data within the company, and also understand the business impact of what it's costing the organization. Collaboration-based machine learning, we understand how users handle data using supervised learning, and that's how we reapply data back to the system. And most importantly, for the first time, data automation is actually possible. And this is the first step for any company to be data-driven. We've had the pleasure of working with multiple insurance companies and show the data effectiveness of our product, and we've discovered some unknowns and shown it to them. One of our customers was actually paying claims for male pregnancies. And we've also found that they've been paying multiple payments for a single claim. And also, dummy policy numbers were inserted at the end of every month, where sales executives were doing it for meeting their sales targets. We had the pleasure of working with Bupa on a 3-week POC, and the details of which Kyle had mentioned. And it was very rewarding for both us and them as well. Our product has been very well received in the market. We have a 100% demo to a pilot conversion ratio. We've given back about $20 million worth of business impact in data usability, and of course, 95% savings in processing time. We've been fortunate to work with some of the big brands in the insurance and the banking sector. We've got a great pipeline of customers that we're working with and pilots as well. And most importantly, we've got the support of global giants like Capgemini and NetApp, who partnered with us. And not just that alone, we're also doing go-to-market strategies to take our product to address some of the data problems of their customers. Our entire product journey has been crafted in our quest to attain centralized intelligence. And the first piece of the puzzle is data quality. Today, I'm very glad to announce the launch of our beta release of a version 2 of our data quality product. The next step is actually understanding relationships within data. And the third is creating a unified data model specific to the domain and the vertical. All these three put together is what we call augmented data management, which is the key to achieve centralized intelligence. We've built some very cool features down the line, and that's kept us very competitive and ahead of the curve. And the features that you see here are some of the most important ones for any organization to become data-driven. And that is what has made our value proposition unique and compelling for our customers. We are a team based in India. My name is Dilip Murali. I have 20 years of experience in product development and product management. My role is architecting this product and bringing it to life. Ayush Banka is the director of technology. He is an avid coder and a data geek. Together, we've built data products and analytics products in the past, and we understand this problem of data very clearly and how to solve it as well. We are raising a seed round currently, and 70% of that will be fed into product development for hiring our teams, and 30% for business development and incorporation in Singapore. We've got a lot of interest from investors in Melbourne and in India as well. Before I close, I'd like to say any good investment can either help you make $1 or save $1. A good data quality strategy can help you achieve both. Thank you.
Our next introduction for our next team comes from NAB. This time, Christina Moore, Product Manager.
Hi, everybody. At NAB, we've been very fortunate to work with our next startup called Youthful Savings, and it has been an absolute pleasure to work with Soumya. And as she's been working through adapting her American business model to the Australian market, Youthful Savings seeks to educate and build trust between youth and financial institutions, whilst also empowering the youth and the younger generation to go after their goal and their dreams. I'm also pleased to announce that we're going to run a pilot at the NAB Village, which will give Soumya an opportunity to get feedback from Australia and also see how the program works in action. Without further ado, and we really want to get to hear from her, I'm sure, let's give Soumya a warm welcome.
Hi there, my name is Soumya. I'm the founder of Youthful Savings, and at Youthful Savings, we believe that financial inclusion is imperative to a peaceful and prosperous society. Unfortunately, we have a bit of an issue. So there is a distribution of wealth that is not happening. 1% of the world's population has a net worth that's $1 million or more, and 64% of the world's population has a net worth that's $10,000 or less. This is a serious problem. And as a millennial, which is my generation, we are the sacrifice generation. Our average net worth is only $8,000. That's insane to me, honestly. And a lot of that has to do with the lack of character development in the way that we transact as humans. And so at Youthful Savings, we're there to tackle that. Something needs to change. We need to be better people. We need to share money better. We need to pay people fairly. All of this is very important for a global ecosystem that works and that is healthy. And so at Youthful Savings, we're super focused on the next generation below us. We want to lead them properly to be better human beings and to transact better and to have better character development so that the world can actually function well. I got started on this journey back in 2013, where I tried to pass a bill on Congress to get financial education mandatory as part of the Common Core curriculum. I failed, didn't happen, but I did learn that Wall Street was buying politics, and so I got focused on building better business owners through my own business challenge. We then launched these products in New York City, and we created digital products. We were inside schools across the nation in 2016 and 2017. Unfortunately, there was an administration change that happened in my country. I'm sure you've heard about him. So that took away a lot of funding in the government schools. So we then recently just launched our own social learning platform called Learning Marketplace. So some of our unique products that are available on Learning Marketplace is the My Own Business Challenge. It's my favorite product. We teach kids how to start a business. Whoever saves the most and delivers their business with the most kindness gets 10% back from our foundation. We also have another product called Handle Your Business, where we teach kids how to budget for real-world expenses like rent and university. We recently launched Youth and Investing and also Money and Kids. And we have a whole bunch of other character development products available on Learning Marketplace. We make money through live experiences, so we partner with large brands in order to bring our products to life. Because at Youthful Savings, we believe that that human connection is incredibly important, and so by doing live experiences, we're able to reach the brains and hearts of our youth. We also provide subscriptions to our platform and sell bulk subscriptions to brands and to schools. We believe in making sure that we invest in the youth. So 10% of our earnings goes into our foundation, and we give business investment and higher learning scholarships. To date, we've already given away $50,000. Some of the large brands that we work with in the United States is Apple and Chase Bank. I'm super excited about that. We also work with Capital One, Tom's Shoes, which is this big social enterprise in the United States, and one of the reasons why I got into social entrepreneurship. Asian Box is very interesting. They actually use our platform as a training mechanism for the youth that work at Asian Box. And in the Australian market, we're super excited to test our model with NAB and Australian Super. We also did do a pilot with Capgemini back last month just to see if we were attractive in the Australian market. So currently our reach is in the big 3 cities in the United States. So that's LA, Chicago, and New York. And we're also here in Melbourne thanks to Startup Bootcamp. And we look forward to reaching more cities in the Asian market and also Central America. This is one of my favorite quotes. We grabbed this from a post-assessment test at Capgemini. My biggest learning was that no matter what we want to be in the future and no matter how much money we are being offered, we should never lose our values and morals. Can't you guys wait for this person to run the world? So I'm really excited to see that character development is happening with our youth, and really excited that brand partners want to see better youth and better world leaders. This is our core team. We come from a very different background. I personally am a certified public accountant and FINRA licensed investment advisor. Danny has a deep sales and marketing background, and Kanisha is a decade-long public relations person. So we believe that the future can be brighter as long as the youth are involved in the real world at a younger age and have strong character development. So we can't wait to work with all of you. There are numerous ways for us to work together. One of our favorite ways is through the live experiences that we do, where we partner with brands, and it can be a great way to use your marketing budget with us. And so we hope that you work with us. Thank you so much.
For our next introduction for our penultimate team today, please give a warm round of applause to Evan Hughes, Senior Consultant from DS.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think the last band I saw at this venue was probably the Polyphonic Spree, maybe the Flaming Lips. But the last time I was at this venue, I was actually on the stage recreating a tap dance routine from the 1930s. So if any VCs want to talk to me about funding dance recreation from back in the day in Harlem that has a $0 target addressable market and no way to profitability, I will happily take your money. One man dance, just YouTube, it's great. My name is Evan Hughes from DS. And I've been lucky enough to represent DS as an entrepreneur in residence during the recent FinTech program. For those of you who don't know DS, we're an Australian technology services firm that also began as an Australian startup. Even though that now we're over 150 people across Melbourne and Sydney, we've been in this game for 15 years. However, we haven't forgotten our startup roots. In fact, just this year, we've launched 3 startups ourselves. So we know firsthand just how hard it is to take a new idea and turn it into a business. So to the entire cohort, all of the businesses, from all of us at DS, we salute you and congratulations. For me personally, my experience has really highlighted what I kind of already knew, that Startup Bootcamp is a community. It is a place where teams have the opportunity to learn and to collaborate, as well as be challenged on everything from their fundamental business model to, in some cases, their product name itself. It is my pleasure today to introduce a great Australian startup, Pencil. Pencil impressed us from the start with the clarity of their vision. Tim and Greg have continued to build our confidence with their engagement and dedication to the bootcamp process. Pencil is solving a seemingly simple problem. That is that companies need to pay and companies need to be paid. Seemingly simple, but for small and medium businesses that offer 14, 30 and 60-day payment terms, being paid on time has always been a struggle. These guys are solving this problem for small and medium businesses across Australia already. I'm looking forward to seeing the problem solved worldwide sometime in the future. I've probably heard Tim pitch one too many times, but I'll happily hear him again once more. It is my pleasure to welcome Pencil CEO Tim Demetrio to tell you more.
Hey guys, I'm Tim, founder and CEO of Pencil. And our mission is to make sure that wholesale suppliers and distributors all over the globe are getting paid on time, every time, by their trade account customers. Did you know that 53% of all trade credit invoices are actually paid late? I'm not talking about a couple of days late, up to a month late. If these invoices were paid on time, we'd see $7 billion in working capital injected back into the SME economy immediately in Australia alone. Cash flow is also the #1 reason why businesses go bust. Which brings me to my bust. From 2012 to 2017, I built a business from 0 to 100 million in turnover and 0 to 500 staff. But after some industry changes, our customers stopped paying us. We were left holding the bag with $6 million in receivables that was unpaid, and we had to pack it in. So, after licking my wounds for a few months, I went and bought a cafe, stupidly. As part of taking over the cafe, I had to take over all the supply agreements, of which there was about 15. The supply agreements are about 8 to 10 pages of handwritten notes. So, as I was writing them all out, I only filled out half of them, but I sent them all back. To my surprise, I guess, I was given credit on all 15 accounts. So, having a look at this, I realised there was tens of thousands of suppliers in Australia alone that would have had the exact same problem. So, I called Greg Armstrong, who's the best technologist I know. Greg and I put our heads together, and he was busy at the time building platforms for some of Australia's most iconic brands, like Bunnings, Aesop, Adore Beauty, and Holden, across e-commerce as well as merchandising. And we put our heads together and built Pencil, which is the easiest way for customers to apply for trade credit, but also the fastest way for suppliers to actually get paid. Now, the current process works like this. A supplier sends out an application, it's paper-based. That application comes back. They do their job, they invoice the customer, and sometimes they get paid. Currently, there's some incredible solutions which sit centrally, being across warehousing, logistics, and accounting. But there's still plenty of gaps. We fill the gaps. Here's how it works. This is the fastest way to apply for trade credit. A supplier onboards with Pencil, sets up their terms of trade, their T's and C's, the security that they require, and then branded forms magically appear on their website. An applicant then goes to the supplier's website. They're going to create their account, select their terms, enter their credit card details, and then they can use that one central record to apply with any of the suppliers across the Pencil network in one click. Now for the fastest way for suppliers to get paid. Invoice reminders via SMS and email make sure that customers can never use the excuse that they never got the invoice. Credit cards are stored with every application to make sure that they can always recover cash. And self-service payment plans make sure cash flow is never a problem. Pencil's in market. We've got 11 suppliers, 5 in the last 30 days. We've got over 500 signed up trade accounts on our platform. And the biggest stat here is that our customers are getting paid 20% faster when they use Pencil and saving a hell of a lot of time. In the last fortnight, we've been lucky enough to sign partnership agreements with Equifax and Unleashed Inventory Management. Those deals are across 4 separate countries, 4 separate jurisdictions in Australia, New Zealand, the UK and the US, giving us an amazing platform to move forward. Unleashed alone have 60,000 customers across those 4 jurisdictions, which will give us amazing growth. A very low cost of customer acquisition, and we actually become the major cash flow partner for all of these suppliers. So far, Pencil's been bootstrapped. We've been funding it ourselves. We're raising capital starting on Monday for growth across our product, our sales, and our marketing. Small and medium business in Australia and across the Western world is the backbone of every economy. We have to make sure these guys get paid on time. So if you want to join us and if you want to help us, please come and see us at the back afterwards. We're looking for investors and partners to be able to grow this thing. Thank you.
And finally, to announce our final team for today, last but certainly not least, please give a warm round of applause from Australian Super, Tyrone Coe, Head of Customer Experience.
Thank you. You heard from Pencil just then about how small and medium businesses are the backbone of economies. In Australia alone, there are more than 2.2 small and medium-sized businesses. This is 98% of all businesses in Australia, employing more than 6 million Australians. I'm pleased to introduce Infovera, who have a unique product that can help these businesses understand themselves. It can help them grow, get funding, and potentially transition. As Australia's largest super fund and a member profit fund, we work with a lot of businesses to help their employees achieve their best possible retirement outcome. Strong businesses mean more people are working and working towards their retirement. We'll be working with Infovera over the next few months on a pilot and look forward to seeing the result of that. With that in mind, I'd like to introduce the global CEO of Infovera, Linus Gerasius.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, Brian, it's me standing between these people and the bar. Is that how we're setting this up? My name's Linus Gerasius. I'm the founder and the CEO of Sterling Creek Holdings, the holding company for both Infovera and TiVo. I'm an Australian, you can probably tell that, but I haven't lived here for 20 years. I've been in the US the last 14 years. We set up Infovera just a few years back, which I'll talk you through. I'm the founder of Infovera, and I'm also the creator of the Total Enterprise Value Opportunity Score, the TiVo score, which has a patent pending on it in the US. I am super thrilled to have been found by Brian when I was in Austin just a few months back to say, hey, there's this opportunity about bringing this sort of business to the Australian marketplace. Come and have a look. And over the last number of months, that's exactly what we've been doing. And I'm pleased to say that we've been thrilled, not just over that 3-month period with the course, with the way that it's all been run, but also for the opportunities that we see for ourselves. So, here in Australia right now, the person running it is Jeff Herrick, my esteemed colleague. Jeff and I, for our sins back in 1999, set up a company that went public here on the Australian Stock Exchange. I left very soon after, not for reasons that you might be thinking, but I moved to the UK, spent 6 years there doing corporate finance. Jeff, for his sins way back, was actually the founding managing director for Dell Australia. That's a company that you may have heard of also. So that's That's the team that's sort of setting this up, and we're just getting started right now. So what's the problem that we're solving? We're talking about business owners. You've heard a little bit about it today. And in particular for us, of those 2 million businesses that you just mentioned, Tyrone, about 300,000 of those companies have got 5 or more employees. You may or may not know this, but most of those businesses are owned by people who look like me. They're baby boomers, or they're Gen X. Those businesses constitute about 30% of Australia's GDP. Those same businesses with people who look like me employ about 40% of the workforce, and we're not well looked after. And those business owners, over the next 15 years, I can guarantee you 100% of them are going to be leaving their company. They're going to get carried out in a pine box. They're going to throw the keys on the table. They're going to hand over to the son or the daughter, or they're going to sell, but they are going to be leaving. And this is a worldwide phenomenon. And it's the largest transference of wealth in the history of the world, and we're not being well looked after. Those same business owners have a whole bunch of advisors who look much like they do. They're also baby boomers, but they're people who are trying to help those business owners grow, to get capital, and to get potentially transition out. And the business lenders, the banks and other lending institutions, are organisations who are saying, let's help you grow, let's help you get capital. So our solution is to look at, and one of the things that's common across all of that is risk, is how do you find out where the issues are in the business? And it's not just financial. Would you lend to a company, for instance, where 95% of its revenue came from 3 clients? Would you lend to a company or invest in a company where all of the business decisions were being made only by the business owner? And the answer to that is, well, probably not. So it's not just financial. You need to look at base business and the systems and processes. You've got to look at the management team and in various other parts of the business to understand where all of those risks are. The Total Enterprise Value Opportunity System, it's a data-driven solution. It's an algorithmic tool that helps to look at the financial and the non-financial aspects of that business and break them apart into areas where all of those people can work with. So here's what it does. That algorithm sizes, categorizes, prioritizes based on things like industry code, the size of the management team, and financial metrics. And it says, what's each portion look like and where are the opportunities that come out of the back of all of those things? And from your browser, now what it's doing is delivering to you from a transactional database. It's saying, here's some answers to questions that you might have. And one question is, what's my company worth? To me, that's an interesting question. What's even more interesting is, what could it be worth? There isn't anyone that I'm aware of here or in the United States that'll actually give you that answer. What our tool does is it says, based on a scoring methodology, in this particular case, there's several $1 million worth of value that's being left on that table. Imagine someone saying to you, your business could be worth an additional couple of $1 million in value for 0 in sales and for 0 in profit. That's an interesting question, isn't it? That's what the TiVo score identifies. And it's an actionable insight. What's the stuff that I can work on today that can make the change? Most business owners know how to sell something or make something. What they really don't have a clue about, to the most extent, is if someone's from the outside looking in saying, how do you grow that value? Well, if I can give you the tool, you're the guy or the gal that built it in the first place. You can make those decisions. What you're looking for is an independent, standardized, benchmarking third party, right? Doesn't exist in the US, doesn't exist in Australia, up until now. So here's what we've done. We started in 2016, and I've put together, what we've done is created the largest, or one of the largest databases of transactions for privately held companies in the country. We've created the TiVo score, and we've issued it to 1.2 million SME-type companies. And we've created an electronic portal for both the business owners and the advisors to function with. Here in Australia, we're going to be doing it a little bit differently. But what we have to this point in time already is we've got signed agreements in place, we're happy to announce today, through great organisations like Australian Super, thank you so much for the introduction, through NAB, the bank, you may have heard of them through DS. And those proof of concepts are going to be dealing with all three areas, the business owner, the advisor, and also the lenders. And this same system is applicable in other parts of the world. So for us, it's in 3 phases. Take the TiVo score, localize it, see how it works here in Australia, validate it here. We've got some potential partners. That same system can help put together a working capital tool. And then that same system eventually is going to be able to help us launch the exchange that we have, the same as we're doing in the United States. Across those 3 areas, business owners, advisors, and enterprise, we've got both subscription model and also an enterprise licensing. And we just see these types of revenue numbers are possible for us really just over the next few years. We're looking for funding, and we're looking for help with service firms and lenders and associations, organisations who can help us expand what we're doing here, or actually help Jeff to do all of that here. So if you can see any way that this is applicable to you or people that you work with, we'd love to talk to you.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. That is the final pitch. Give a huge round of applause for all of our founders here today. Ladies and gentlemen, to finally wrap up before we open up the bars, I just want to say one big thank you. A thank you to, again, an ecosystem that's opened its arm to these teams as they've been introduced and reintroduced here today. A program like this cannot be done by one person or even a small group of people. It takes a village, as they say. So with that, I'd first like to bring all the founders up on stage, if we can do that, as we give them one more big round of applause for everything they've done and accomplished in the last 3 months, and for everything that they put on the line to make all of this happen, but they're just one part of this. I'd also like to get all of the speakers from our partners, all of our speakers who are still here, come on up. Partners, come on up, please, as you come up as well, because we can't do this without them either. But again, these are only 2 parts of it. The last group I really want to bring up very quickly is the SBC staff. You see myself and Trevor up here, but there is an army of people who helped to make this happen. So Startupbootcamp staff, come on up as well, and let's give them a huge round of applause. There are so many thank yous to give on a program like this, from Kate Russell, who oversees our corporate partnerships, to Josh, who spent all night last night finalizing and putting together all of the different videos. Folks, when I say it takes a village to run a program like this, this is it. This is that village, and this is what it accomplishes. We want to thank all of you for being here today. We hope you're going to continue to work with these teams. Folks, we're going to take some pictures, but I've got good news for you. The bar is open, and the tab's on me. We've got everything open until 6 p.m. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please chat with these teams for a little while. And Melbourne, it's been a pleasure. Good night!